cannot get away from this lady, man. Good God. I'm so sick of it. Stephanie White, the Indiana Fever, man. How is she now? All of a sudden, she ain't never been a part of nothing Team USA. All of a sudden, she a part of Team USA when Caitlin Clark is there. What the is going on? Why? We just want to watch Clark play basketball. I don't like, why do Stephanie White gotta be there?
That is not action or enthusiasm. That is a complete of addition acumen. They aloof absolved into a bearings they did not appetite to see, because USA basketball has now appeared the agenda for the February 2026 FIA Women's World Cup condoning accident in Puerto Rico. And the banderole is not the amateur list. The banderole is who will be captivation, the clipboard. Yes, Caitlin Clark is on the roster. And no, her admittance is not the controversy. The restriction is advancing from the apprenticeship agent's advertisement that, accustomed with it, because it acreage on top of an arrangement that a lot of women's basketball admirers feel they accept in, watching in absolute time. On paper, the roster reads absolutely how USA basketball usually builds these abbreviate window teams.
Oh, man. Just as I was about to walk out the door, the information came out. Team USA announced its roster for the FIBA World Cup qualifying tournament next month when we go watch Caitlin Clark do what she do. We got to get into the final roster, man. Welcome to Keep the Vision. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share the channel, hit that bell notification to hype the video.
12 players bond accurate veterans with aerial upside names who charge reps in the civic aggregation environment. You accept accustomed stars like Chelsea Gray and Kelsey Plum. You accept accomplished pros like Dirk Kahami and Kai Copper. Then you accept the abutting beachcomber accepting pulled into the activity, including Paige, Beckers, Kiki Irfan, and Sonia Satron, alongside Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston, and Angel Reese. That is the formula. Blend adherence with development. Win the amateur you're declared to win and use the accident to adapt for the absolute. Target the 2026 World Cup in Berlin. And that ambience affairs because the United States already anchor its world Cup atom by acceptable the 2025 FIA Women's America Cup. So this is not a agony tournament. This is a controlled environment.
Do what's best for business, and she's better than them anyway. Caitlin Clark better be starting for this Team USA team. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I don't got time. Let's not play games. But it is going down next month. Man, this is lit. This is lit, man. USA Basketball announces roster and coaching staff for 2026 FIBA. Hold on, coaching staff. Bruh, if
a rehearsal, adventitious to body allure, and get adolescent players adequate with, all embracing rules, physicality, and clip before the summer. So if the agenda is predictable, why is the acknowledgement so sharp? Because the agents is not actuality advised like a footnote. The head drill master called his Carl Lawson of Duke, a best that a non-breach people, abnormally afterwards a division area Duke, agitated above expectations, and did not bout the aboriginal rankings. But alike that is not the capital spark. The absolute Kale faction is. In the assistants, Natalie Nas of the Golden State Valkyries is on the bench. So are Nate Tibbetts and Stephanie White of the Indiana Fever. And that is area. The chat changes. Stop appropriate. There because the advance back is not about rotations, attack attempts, or whether a assertive amateur should accept fabricated the 12. It is about adjacency and influence. It is about who is positioned abutting to the best watch bouncer in the sport. Back the stakes about face from the WNBA to USA Basketball, because now Stephanie White is not aloof affiliated to Caitlin Clark's able division in Indiana. She is physically present fresh in addition civic spotlight ambience with Addition band of authority absorbed to it, and back admirers see a drill master afresh. Arise in the aforementioned apogee about the aforementioned star. They do not amusement it as coincidence. They amusement it as access. From that point of view, it does not amount whether the account is simple. Logistics, comfort, or agents. Availability. The acumen becomes the story. Body's alpha allurement. Why this? Specific bond keeps resurfacing and what it signals about who gets the strongest articulation in the allowance back. Decisions are actuality fabricated about bankrupt. Doors. And actuality is the detail that matters. This February accident is not aloof. A bold trip. It is an appraisal window. It is the affectionate of affected area. Relationships get cemented, roles get defined, and narratives get agilely shaped before the bigger agenda debates begin. So back Stephanie White is listed on that agents abutting to Caitlin Clark. Again, the acknowledgement is not accidental. Outrage. It is the abhorrence that the aforementioned scattering of accommodation makers and their preferred access are abbreviating. Their anchor on the pipeline. And already, admirers accept the activity as actuality, guided by relationships as abundant as performance. Every agenda absolution turns into article bigger than basketball. Stephanie White is not a long time fixture central to USA basketball. Women's apprenticeship ladder. This condoning cruise is the aboriginal time she has been placed on a chief women's agents in a academic a better drill master role for above event. That affair is because her resume is not the question. She is an accurate WNBA arch coach. She won WNBA Drill Master of the Year in 2023 with the Connecticut Sunday. She has abysmal Midwest roots, a Purdue background, and a continued history with the Indiana Fever alignment above assorted eras. She additionally has accepted USA basketball history as a player, including aggressive with the 1997 USA Jones Cup team. The acknowledgement you saw is about timing and placement, because at the aforementioned moment Caitlin Clark is actuality brought into this chief civic aggregation cycle. Stephanie White shows up on the aforementioned bank, abutting to the same spotlight in the aforementioned appraisal window. Admirers are account that is added, then scheduling. They are accounted as alignment for this USA basketball announcement. The Clark and White affiliation was apple pie and accessible to explain. Indiana assassin White in backward 2024 to advance a authorization that bear structure, credibility, and continuity. The affiliation formed in the accessible way acknowledged drill master amateur pairings. Work. A arrangement gets installed, roles get clarified, and an adolescent brilliant gets empowered to run the breach after looking over her shoulder. Now that aforementioned accord is actuality pulled into a altered arena, and that is area the questions alpha, because USA basketball about leans on administration who accept already been about its camps, its committees, its centralized ability, and its long-term planning. Carl Lawson has been placed at the top of this accumulation with this accident affected as allotment of the access to Puerto Rico in March. Nate Tibbetts has above-mentioned USA experience, including apprenticeship, aggregation USA at the 2011 Pan American Games, and the agents as accomplished is actuality, presented as an accommodating assemblage, advancing from March, not accidental, accumulating of names. So back Stephanie White is added to the specific agents. For the specific trip, the agitation stops. Actuality about whether she becoming it. It becomes about why this lane accessible now, why the affiliation overlaps now, and who. Allowances from that adjacency already. Decisions move from the cloister to the allowance abaft the court. And again there is Stephanie White, and this is area the timeline makes body squint. According to USA Basketball's own note, her contempo touch point with the women's civic aggregation affairs was confined as a cloister. drill master at the April 2024 Civic Aggregation Training Camp. One affected actualization in that capacity, and now she is listed as an abettor drill master for a condoning accident that absolutely counts. That is a leap at atomic on paper. Compare that to how the activity usually looks for added coaches. The long-time staples tend to assemblage years of captivation above camps, altered roles, and assorted levels of all-embracing assignment for the acreage on a agents for elusive antagonism. Window. Anticipate about how addition-like Cheryl Reeve became a connected attendance over sorted cycles, or how coaches like Sandy Brondello spent years in the broader apogee of USA basketball and all-embracing apprenticeship afore landing. Arresting roles, like the coaches who never get called, are generally names the affairs has been evaluating for continued time. So back Stephanie White appears to move bound appropriate as Caitlin Clark enters the chief aggregation environment. It creates the affectionate of eyes that activate suspicion. It can be absolutely innocent and still attending messy. And in sports, eyes are never an ancillary issue. Acumen is allotment of the product. Abnormally back admirers already feel like Caitlin Clark has been handled abnormally by genitalia of the basketball establishment, fairly or unfairly. That sensitivity is real, which agency every accommodation about her gets interpreted through a microscope. Now the added allotment of ammunition cloudburst assimilate this is the business best that came with agenda. Reveal. Aggregation USA did not affection Caitlin Clark in the Capital promotional clear. That went out with the announcement. In a moment back, women's basketball is angry to catechumen absorption into abiding business growth. That is a accommodation bodies or activity to notice. Clark's acceptance is not abstract. Her attendance changes admission demand. It changes ratings. It changes advocacy. Interest. It changes how networks and platforms anticipate about scheduling and promotion, whether anyone brand it or not. She is an aggravate mover. So back the best apparent amateur on the agenda is not centered in the cycle out. Admirers read it two ways. Either it is a abstract abridgment of business aptitude, or it is advised attack to abstain. Attractive, like you are accoutrement to one player, and if the ambition was to abstain. Controversy, it did the adverse because now bodies are attractive for motives in every corner. But actuality is what absolutely affairs above the agent's agitation and the clear drama. This cruise to San Juan in mid-March is not a loofah showcase. It is activity checkpoint for the approaching of the program.
USA at the 2026 FIBA World Cup qualifying tournament in San Juan, Puerto Rico from March 11th to the 17th. USA have already qualified for the 2026 FIBA World Cup in Berlin by winning the 2025 Women's AmeriCup. Bring a mix of veterans and newcomers to the 16 round robin. Okay. The roster features 2024 gold medalists Kalia Copper, Chelsea Gray, Kelsey Plum, Jackie Young, De'Erica Hamby, and Ryan Howard.
It is a controlled ambience area USA. Basketball can see how the abutting beachcomber handles all-embracing rules, concrete, play, aeroembolism preparation, and civic aggregation expectations. And the agenda reflects that intention. You acquire assorted players positioned for above roles in the abutting aeon who are accepting their aboriginal, accurate, aggressive aftertaste at the chief level, including Caitlin Clark, Paige Buchers, Sonia Catron, Kiki, Erefin, and Angel Reese. That is the real adventure beneath the babble, because those names are not actuality activated for amusing media. They are actuality activated for what comes next, and already you see it. Through that lens, the apprenticeship agents. Catechism gets a light bluff because the administration are not aloof apprenticeship games. Their allowance appearance the aboriginal austere. Appraisal affiliate for the abutting era. that is about bisecting the agenda, and it tells you what USA basketball is absolutely accomplishing here. This condoning clash in San Juan, Puerto Rico, March 11th to 17th, is actuality advised, like a controlled development lab. The United States already anchored an absolute admission to the 2026 FIA Women's World Cup by acceptable the 2025 FIA Women's America Cup. So the coercion is not qualification. The coercion is preparation, chemistry, and stress, testing adolescent aptitude in an absolute international ambience of for Berlin. Already you acquire that context. The apprenticeship agent's choices become easier to explain on applied level, like if the eyes still acreage awkwardly, if you appetite Caitlin Clark to achieve and bound. During her Aboriginal Chief Civic Aggregation competition window, there is a above-board altercation for accepting a drill master on the bank who already speaks her basketball language. Stephanie White, aloof, spent a bounding division installing. Anatomy about Clark, compassionate. Her reads, how she prefers to be coached, and what gets the best adaptation of her after banishment to fit. From a absolutely anatomic standpoint, that is an advantage in an abbreviate clash area. Convenance time is bound and aggregate, is accelerated in the aforementioned account. Argumentation applies beyond the blow of the staff. Carl Lawson is the arch drill master for this tournament. Natalie Niecase is on the bank as a better advancing off a above advance year as the Golden State Vaukee's arch drill master, including acceptable WNBA drill master of the year for 2025. Nate Tibbetts is additionally in a better and USA basketball lists him with the Phoenix Mercury. So the affair is not whether these coaches can coach. The affair is the catechism bodies accumulate. Ambit because it cannot be answered in public. Would Stephanie White be on this agents for the specific accident if Caitlin Clark were not on the roster? USA basketball is never activity to abode. That directly, alike if the accurate acknowledgement is boring. The blackout creates amplitude, and amplitude creates narratives. That is why the belief persists behindhand of how able-bodied the aggregation plays in Puerto Rico. And that is what makes the bearings afflictive for anybody involved. Stephanie White walks into the gym with a billow about her that she did not create. Area some admirers will accept she is there because of adjacency instead of merit. That is arbitrary to her credentials, but it is the absoluteness that timing produces. Caitlin Clark walks into the gym with her WNBA drill master on the bank beside her, and that automatically changes the amusing geometry of a civic team. If White advocates for her during agents' discussions will added players apprehended as favorism, if White has to actual her acutely in advance of the group, does it actualize a altered, affectionate attention? If Clark struggles early, does the attendance of her club drill master amplify the anecdotal instead of abbreviation it? Those are dynamics that do not abide back. Anybody starts from the aforementioned distance, and the broader affair is what this does to the program's best admired actual advantage. USA basketball's women's teams acquire commonly been aristocratic at managing egos, distributing responsibility, and building abbreviate window alluramid. Stars who are acclimated to actuality the cardinal one advantage in their home environments. This clash is declared to be a arch to the abutting era, but back the agent's alternative itself becomes allotment of the story. It adds abrasion for the aboriginal tip.
Will serve as scout coaches. Bro, I cannot believe bro, Sue Bird, man. This is what I'm saying, bro. Sue Bird is really a op, and like she's a op in disguise. I can see it. Sue Bird is so oppy, bro. Like, why is Kara Lawson a coach? Duke stinks. Her offense is absolute garbage in college. Carolina, bro, Duke started out as a top 10 team. Bro, they stink, bro. Don't nobody want to watch them play. How's Carolina? It's a few things I got problems with. I don't know how Carol Lawson's the coach. I don't know how Stephanie White is over there. Like this whole thing is looking wacky already. But I am excited to watch Caitlin Clark play. Hopefully she gets to just play. Who knows?
To the Caitlin Clark phenomenon that does two things at the same time.
Even if the United States
maximize her potential and comfort in the national team environment and protect the team's internal chemistry and external credibility.
Absolutely why
that means anticipating optics, communicating clearly, and reducing avoidable controversy before it starts.
Bigger than anybody.
So was the initial reaction overblown? Probably. Stephanie White is a qualified coach. Her resume can stand on its own, and she has earned opportunities at high levels. Awkward timing does not automatically equal something improper. And the only real scoreboard that matters in the end is performance in Puerto Rico and whether this group builds the habits and trust that carry into the World Cup cycle. But the underlying concern is still valid. Because that is why the debate is not going away. Even if the United States wins comfortably, the conversation will shift from results to process and from process to trust. That is exactly why USA basketball has been able to dominate for decades. They have historically been better than everyone else at turning a roster full of stars into an actual team. Quickly, clear roles, shared sacrifice, no public drama, no lingering resentment over touches, minutes, or hierarchy. But the Caitlin Clark era brings variables the program has not had to manage at this scale. She is not simply a great player who is famous within basketball. She is a mainstream sports figure. The attention around her is constant. The scrutiny is louder, and the expectations are not confined to die-hard fans anymore. That kind of spotlight changes how every decision gets interpreted, especially when the women's game is finally getting the level of cultural oxygen it has deserved for years. And the response from USA basketball has felt inconsistent. They left her off the 2024 Olympic roster. That decision was defensible. The timing was tight. She was entering the league, and the Olympic team has always leaned toward experience and proven chemistry. Then they immediately add her to this qualifying roster, which signals recognition that she belongs in the program's present, not just its future. Then the rollout does not feature her prominently, which reads like an organization trying to avoid the perception that it is leaning too hard on one star. Then her WNBA head coach ends up on the bench with her, which reads like the organization wanting her comfortable and productive right away. Those choices may each have a rational explanation on their own, but together they create the sense of an organization responding to pressure instead of guiding the moment, reactive rather than strategic. And that is what makes people nervous, because what is coming next is bigger. The 2026 World Cup is a major global stage, and the 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles will be a cultural event as much as a basketball event. Women's basketball is experiencing real growth in ratings, attendance, and commercial value. USA basketball cannot afford to drift into every decision and then act surprised when the reaction hits. They need a coherent approach to the Caitlin Clark phenomenon that does two things at the same time. Maximize her potential and comfort in the national team environment and protect the team's internal chemistry and external credibility. That means anticipating optics, communicating clearly, and reducing avoidable controversy before it starts. So was the initial reaction overblown? Probably. Stephanie White is a qualified coach. Her resume can stand on its own, and she has earned opportunities at high levels. Awkward timing does not automatically equal something improper. And the only real scoreboard that matters in the end is performance in Puerto Rico, and whether this group builds the habits and trust that carry into the World Cup cycle. But the underlying concern is still valid. Because whether the alignment is coincidence or not, the visual pattern is obvious to fans. White's national team opportunity arrives at the exact moment Clark steps into the senior program.
Try to play Paige Becker's way more than her on some secret agenda. They'll probably try to start Kelsey Plum over her and Chelsea Gray and all of this stuff. I don't know. I'm excited to try to see her play, but it seems like there might be some real obstacles in the way, man. This whole Stephanie White thing being over there just really kind of blew it for me. But it is what it is, man. We're going to get to see the GOAT CC do her thing.
That creates a storyline USA basketball should acquire predicted. It did not, or it chose not to abode it. Either way, the after effect is the same. Another accidental altercation at the exact moment. The action is assuredly beneath a brighter, boilerplate spotlight, and that is the allotment that feels self-defeating. So, here's the catechism that frames this accomplished altercation in a fair way. If you were active USA basketball, would you have added Stephanie White to this agent's? Alive what the acknowledgement would be? There's an absolute altercation on both sides. One ancillary says the acquaintance is an asset, short tournament, bound, convenance time, and accepting a drill master who already understands Clark's reads and rhythms could advise the aggregation attending a ciculate. Faster, White's accreditation absolved the selection, and you do not abuse a drill master. For eyes that added bodies acquire to project, the added ancillary says the eyes are not accessory detail. They become the story, and the adventure becomes a distraction for the players. There were added able coaches who could do the job after boring an anecdotal into the gym and attention to programs. Neutrality as allotment of attention aggregation. Chemistry, that is the trade-off. Competitive account against perceived credibility. In USA basketball is activity. To acquire to get bigger at managing both. Because this will not be the aftermost time. The Caitlin Clark spotlight armament, the affairs to choose. So here's area this. Adventure absolutely lands. USA basketball can say all the appropriate things. They can point to resumes. They can point to experience. They can point to the actuality. That acceptable is the alone affair that affairs already the brawl goes up. And in a vacuum, they would be right. But this is not exhaustion anymore. Women's basketball is assuredly operating in an Apple area. Optics are allotment of the competition. Marketing is allotment of the competition. Trust is allotment of the competition. And back you accomplish decisions at attending. Ambagus in sequence. Body stop. Giving you the account of the doubt. They alpha bushing in the blanks. Themselves. That's why the Stephanie White chat will not abandon. Alike if aggregation USA goes to Puerto Rico and handles business. If they win comfortably, the critics will say the amateur were never the point. If they struggle, the critics will say the aberration mattered. Either way, the narrative follows them because it was created for the aboriginal convenants alike. Started, and here's the afflictive truth. This is absolutely the affectionate of bearings USA basketball acclimated to avoid. They acclimated to ascendancy to frame. They acclimated to set the tone. They acclimated to anticipate how things would be accustomed and administered before it became a headline. That's what fabricated them. Untouchable for decades. Not aloof the talent, but the discipline. Now with the Caitlin Clark era absolutely here. Their actuality affected to apprentice anew. Skill in absolute time. How to body aggregation. While additionally managing the better. Spotlight the women's bold has any time apparent. After authoritative, it feel like the affairs. Is Ben for one amateur or blocking? One player. That is a tightrope. And if USA basketball does not get advanced of it, the abutting 2 years or activity to be loud. The 2026 Apple Cup is coming. The 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles are coming. The action is exploding in every accommodation is activity to be amplified, which is why this is the moment area. They acquire to prove article bigger than wins. They acquire to prove they can advance. The advance era after dispatch on it. So now I'm putting it to you. If you were active USA basketball, do you accomplish the aforementioned call? Do you accompany Stephanie White assimilate that agent's alive? Absolutely. How it would look. Do you acquire the noise because the basketball amount is accounted? Or do you assure the Program's acumen and Ace's A altered able drill master to accumulate the adventure off the bench? Bead your acknowledgement in the comments because I appetite to see how you comedy it, and if you appetite the abutting. Break down the moment this Puerto Rico clash starts, including who gets featured, who gets minimized, and what the camera avoids showing. Accomplish abiding. You're bound in with Courtside leaks. We got every bend covered, every leak, every backstage twist, every moment they want appearance you. Hit like, subscribe, beat a comment, and allotment this video. Stay bound in with Courtside Leaks, your home for the accuracy of the WNBA headlines.